Alright guys, we're going to be setting up RX-8 today. I'm way behind on my shooting. Normally I'd have this all set up and been shooting all winter, but you know, just a busy lifestyle. So we've got to get this set up, get to shooting. I'm excited about doing some 3D shooting, so I'm going to set this up for 3D to start with, and then when we get closer to maybe the end of August, I'll switch it over to my hunting setup. It's going to be a multi-segment process. We'll take you through each of the steps to do that. Let's set up the initial bow setup, which would be my draw length, poundage, all that kind of thing. And I'll tell you, Hoyt knocked it out of the park this year with their new bows, their flagship bow, the RX-8 and the Alpha X. Some of the new things I want to show you here is now you can set this to 75% let off. If you want more holding weight, you can do 75. It still has 80 and 85 if you prefer that, but I like to hold a little bit more weight. If you're holding in the wind and you got a little bit more holding weight, it holds you steadier. And if you want to add a lot of weight to your bow, that extra holding weight will really help you keep you from dipping down. If you have those dip outs to the bottom, if you're shooting target or whatever, that'll really help you with extra holding weight. Now, if all you're doing is hunting and you plan on holding that full draw for 5 minutes, it happens. You know, maybe you want to go with 85%, but I'm going to set this up at 75%. They also killed it on the draw length. This year you got 1/4 inch increments. You know, before it was 1/2 inch, now it's down to 1/4, and you've got the big letter here and then the small letter. So like for E, I'm set on E, which is 29.5. If you go to the small letter E, that should be 29 3/4, and it goes all the way through, and it'll show you right here on the sticker what the setting is and what the draw length is, at least for the 1/2 inch increments. I don't think I talked about the draw stops. If you like a real solid back wall, right where it's set right now is the solid back wall. Now if you take and switch these from end to end, you can get a little more of a spongy back wall if that's what you like. I like the solid back wall so you can pull into it and your draw length doesn't move. So I'm going to leave it right there. So let's get going on the setup and see what we can do with her. We are putting our rest on. We've got our drop away rest. I'm a big fan of. You know, I go way back to the old TM Hunter rest. You remember the 2 metal prongs?
I do. That was actually on my first bow.
Really?
Yes, sir.
And then the dropaways came out, and that saved us a lot of trouble in tuning over the years. Much better deal. All right. There's that part I want to see. Now what I want to check is to see where this is running through my arrow, where my D-loop's going to be. Just eyeball that square. So keep in mind where you set your height of your rest up is also going to be obviously where your D-loop is, affect where your D-loop is and where you draw on the string. So if the D-loop's up high, I mean, you might just get inconsistencies on how the bow wants to hold. So I don't want to be right down the pipe with my D-loop. So usually that bow will hold a lot better that way. So I'm going to run this right down where the burger hole would be. You can't see it here, but on the other side, the hole is just covered up on this side. And of course, I can just adjust the rest up or down is how you would adjust that. You know, you can move up like so, down a little bit. But I think the way it's set up from the factory right there looks pretty good. So we'll leave her right there. Okay. Now. Come on. I have to get some, see if I can get a hold of it. All right, what we're doing here is we just pulled this cord out so we can get a hold of it, because we're going to set our timing up right here. We'll attach it down here, but it's way easier to set your timing up here versus trying to monkey with the piece that holds the string to the cable here. Just a quick disclaimer here, this is not meant to be the final word on bow setup. This is what works for me. may work for you. Hopefully you guys can take a tip or two out of this, and if you got something that works great for you, I mean, stick with it. This is just what I've done over the years. Some of it's new, some of it's old. One's there. So what I like to do on this is just slide this up against that serving, and that'll keep that from sliding on the cable. And then I'm just gonna pre-time it here real quick. We can always shorten that up, but that'll get us close.
So when you say pre-time, what do you mean by that?
So we're timing the rest when that starts to pick up the rest all the way. So by drawing that, it's just pulling the cable about where it needs to be.
And to change that, you move the position of that?
So what I like to do is I'll loosen it here and just move the cord here and leave this the same, because what I'll do is cut this off and then just burn the end so that won't pull through.
Okay.
So we'll do that now, and then I'll actually check my exact timing by measuring the arrow where that starts to come up and where it's all the way up, and then how much draw I have left. And I like it to be about 1.5 inches where the rest is all the way up. 1.5 inches of your draw seems to be timed about right. Anywhere between 1 to 2 inches. So I just split the difference at 1.5. Aha. I want to be careful with the serrated knife there. Don't put too much pressure on it or you'll cut your face off. These babies are sharp. Or high. Okay, now we'll pull that in tight so you know that cord can't move at that point. Okay, that's all the way up and against the serving. Okay, so now any timing we can do will be up here, the cord up here at the top. Okay, so I'm going to level up my bow here so I can in turn put an arrow on the string and set my nock level to the rest. Pretty darn close to get her started anyway. So of course that sucker won't stay there either.
Camera's overheating.
Oh,
Marker's not working.
We're in bad shape.
Dog and pony show out here this morning.
Oh, here we go. We got some paint now.
Oh, buddy.
So Sirius has come out with a new target arrow. Is the Galaxy. They've got this in a 23, that's what this is right here. I'm going to use for 3D. They've got a 25 and a 27. So if you're shooting a lot of indoor, I'd shoot the 27, you know, just a bigger diameter arrow, catch more lines. But that's why I'm shooting it for 3D as well. The 23, you know, it's not crazy on the wind drift. I mean, it's a good size. It'd be nice if you, perfect world, you'd have 2 arrows. You'd shoot one of these for non-windy days. And if you had a real windy day, you'd shoot like an Orion or some micro that you're not going to have the wind drift with. But this is what I'm going to run for 3D. It's the 23 Galaxy, new arrow, like I said. So check them out, SiriusArchery.com. So all I'm doing here is I've got my string set level, and I'm going to set my arrow level. Right there. And mark that, maybe. Thought I had that to where it would mark, but. All right. Now I can put my D-loop on. Yes, sir. So to put my D-loop on right now, I'm just going to tie just the D-loop on. Once I tune the bow, the reason I do that is you can twist that up and down the string. So if you want to mess with your tune, twist it up, twist it down, or move your rest, whichever you prefer. And then once everything is tuned, I'll come back and I'll tie in nocking points for my for my knock and then put the D-loop on a different one. Let's do that, get her down where I can work on it a little better. Now if I was big time, I'd have the electric foot pedal here. Just hit the foot pedal and...
I thought you were about to buy one last year.
Oh man, I was eyeing it up. You remember that?
I do remember that.
Alright, so when I do my D-loop, we want the top on the left, the bottom will go over to the right side of the string. So that's just putting a natural twist in that, like when you draw back, that's the way you twist your release if you're shooting the thumb button. Maybe not so important if you're shooting a caliper or something like that, but all right, there, I think is our spot. Okay, now we will cut that and burn it. Oh, about right there. Just a hair more off that. Just like that. So now when I set the length of this D-loop, I'm leaving it a little short because it's going to stretch in some. So granted, I'm going to take this one off anyway, but still, I like to do them the same. Pretty darn close right there. All right, now see if we can seat her down a little bit. All right. That'll get us in the ball games.
That's the old finished product right there.
Yep. Like I said, I'll come back and tie in my knocking points. So it'll look a little different when I'm done, but.
Oh, whoa, back into the door.
Ran out of room there. Just give her the old eyeball. She looks pretty square. That's what we want to start. Okay, now let's set our center shot and then we'll work on our timing here. Rye just asked me, what is center shot? For those of you that don't know, that is how your arrow runs left or right with your rest. You can move it to the left, move it to the right, and ideally you want it just right down the pipe. You can fine tune that just a little bit, you know, based on your paper tune or bare shaft tune, whatever you like. But a good starting point is just to run her right down the pipe and see how she tears.
And then the adjustment for that is going to be done how?
It's going to be done right there. Or you can shim your cams out.
It's basically just moving the rest to the right or the left.
Well, it is, but usually what we do is we set up our center shot where we want it, and I'll move it a little bit, like a 1/16 one way or another. But any more than that, then I'll just shim the cams up. So I'll move the cams left or right. It seems to have more of an effect, and I'll just leave the rest where it's at. So let's look and see what we've got here. All right, so I put a long stabilizer on so you guys can see what I'm looking at here. I'm gonna try and make the arrow parallel with the stabilizer so it doesn't go left, doesn't go right. So if you look at this from over top, look at my arrow in the stabilizer, you can see that arrow is running way left. Tip that back so you can see it. Can you get that?
Yes. Yep, so it's, okay.
And so we're going to bring that arrow rest back to the right so that's nice and parallel with that. Right is this way. Okay, so now I'm just going to look over top here, adjust that. It's offset a little bit, but you can see it's not running to the left or to the right now, so that's what I was looking for. So I've adjusted my center shot so it's running parallel with the stabilizer, but I want to measure it just to see what it's running at. Usually you want to be around about 3/4 to 13/16 on these Hoyts, so just want to verify that it's in that range somewhere in there. This would be to the center of the arrow, and it's less than that, so. But I'm running her. We'll see where she paper tunes. All right, let's check our draw length and our timing on our rest. That's up next before we do any shooting. All right, see what we can do here. And we're about 29 3/4, which is just a hair longer than we want, so we're going to bump that down a quarter. According to that, that's on E. I think it's going to be a little short. We're going to have to go back with it. But puts me at just over 29. Say 29 1/4, so we're going to go a quarter longer. All right. Now, first one was for practice. All right, that's what we needed. Now we can do our rest timing the old-fashioned way, because most people don't have a draw board. So that means somebody's going to mark my arrow. Somebody named RJ.
It's your prerogative.
When this rest gets all the way up, so when it goes like that, we're going to mark it, and then we'll see how far it draws past that.
Okay.
Oh, hang on. It's right in that draws. There you go. Okay. And then mark it again. Not far enough, right?
Yeah, it's closer to an inch.
About an inch. We want 1.5 inches. Right at an inch, I've had them where the rest will not drop. So if it's not timed quick enough, that's what you're going to run into. So that's why I like to go to 1.5 inches. Just happy to be getting this set up. I'm ready to shoot.
I'm ready to whip you this summer.
Oh boy. Don't record that part.
Resist.
RJ, don't record that part of me laughing hysterically. I'll do my best here to, I'll see what we can do with her. Oh, hang on right there. The thing is, like, your rope adjustment doesn't correlate to how far that, you move it, you know, 3/8 here or whatever.
Well,
Still got the tape measure? Oh, this got to be really close to 1.5 inches, big guy. You're killing me.
We're still kind of closer to that 1/4 inch.
Give her just a fuzz more.
Fuzz.
All right, RJ said a fuzz, so we're going to give her a fuzz.
is that standard or metric measurements?
Ah, come on, be there one time. Hair shot again.
Yeah, it's closer, but yeah.
What is it, 3/8?
Yep.
Gosh, I'm not going to argue with 3/8. Yes, I am. I am a perfectionist. All right, you got me on that one. I am going to argue with it. 17th time. Here we go, boys. All right, there. That's going to be it.
It's right there at it.
Okay, we got her. 1.5 inches. Our rest is timed. Only took 16 tries, but we got it. Perfectionist. All right. Snug her up. Just going to leave that little tag right there. You could cut that if you wanted, but if we ever make any adjustments and we need to change that, it's nice to have just a little bit extra there. Alright, I just noticed our string stop is not quite touching the string, and I like it to just be resting on the string, so I'm going to bump that back just a hair.
Is there a reason you like it that way versus anything, or?
Yeah, it cuts down on that string oscillations when it comes down after you shoot. You know, if it's, you get just a little more vibration. If it's touching, it seems to dampen it just a hair better, I think. Just touching. Perfect. All right, well, where do we go from here, Rye?
I think we make them tuned in next week.
All right, well, this is what we've got so far. We've got the draw length set, we've got our 75% let off, we've got the rest time, the rest is on, D-loop. Next up is the sight, paper tuning. You'll have to tune in next week to see that. We'll see you on the next one. Thank you.